Trump's approval rating is higher than ever. I'm not saying that. That's what CNN is saying.
Let me, wait, hold on. Before, wait, let me, wait, hold on.
And it's
Let me just speak to what you said.
Every so often on CNN, we get special moments, and today's your lucky day because today's one of those special moments, because we are going over the most recent CNN meltdown moment where they buried their own CNN poll and even buried their own news anchor. It's actually insane. So before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. It's a really big help. Let us begin.
They are saying it's a hoax.
They're blaming the reporter.
We know from Maggie Haberman's reporting that Trump really doesn't want to fire anyone because he doesn't want the media to win. And let me tell you, the media is winning. The media, because of this story, because they refuse to fire someone and move past it, the media is getting eyeballs, clicks, they're selling newspapers and magazines.
That Trump's approval rating, CNN reports Trump's approval rating is higher than ever. I'm not saying that. That's what CNN is saying.
Okay, real quick, before we get to CNN burying CNN by using CNN information, you'll see what I mean here in a second, I need to point out CNN is still talking about Signalgate. However, that news anchor was not using any information that you could prove. She was saying that Donald Trump does not want to fire anybody from Signalgate because he doesn't want the media to win. How do you prove that? However, the other news anchor says, well, actually, the American public likes Donald Trump and we have polling and statistics, but then here's the response.
Wait, hold on. Before, wait, let me, hold on.
And it's
Let me just speak to what you said. That was before this scandal.
Yeah.
Well,
just so you know, that
yesterday.
CNN reporting, there was
before.
somebody, it was before the scandal. Harry Enton came out and said, look, he's doing well comparatively, but it was like 45% of the country. That's not a great number, but that was before the scandal.
Yes.
But it actually gets even worse if you know the full context. We are going to watch the original clip and then you'll see why this is such an issue for CNN. Because that news anchor was saying, well, you know, the numbers were not even that great. However, when you watch the original clip, which we are about to do, you will see that CNN was presenting this news segment as if, hey, we need a reality check and we have to be very careful when we tell people Donald Trump is not popular or people don't like Donald Trump's policies, because in the clip you'll see CNN's like, hold on, people like Donald Trump.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term #1 and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to compare him to himself to understand he's actually more popular now than he was when he won, or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So I hope you can see how it's a little problematic for CNN when during the polling segment, as you guys just saw, they even said Donald Trump is more popular than ever. And also, to give you guys some more context, more popular than ever while Tesla takedowns are happening, while you have the Doge stuff happening, while you have federal employees being fired, and now CNN is trying to argue, well, you know, it's Signalgate, let's actually see what happens.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt. So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important because, again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Maris, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Maris has measured since 2009.
He's doing well comparatively, but it was like 45% of the country. That's not a great number.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm this CNN news anchor, I would be making a phone call to say either you owe me an apology or you owe the audience an apology, because that 45% I just showed you, she dismissed it and said that's not that great of a number. When you look at the original clip, it's the second highest since 2009 and the highest since 2004. Again, this is actually a really good number.
Is it collapsing or has it collapsed? That's the only argument to have. And I was wrong. I said Memorial Day is before April Fool's Day, which the Trump administration should make a national holiday because it so accurately represents who they are. So I'm not really, we're not arguing when we look at what's happening in the markets. We look at what's happening on Sigelgate. We look at what's happening all around us, treating measles with apricot pits.
I mean, you cannot make this up. As I'm filming and editing this video, we have a James Carville clip that just came out, but it all ties in so perfectly together. James Carville is a very famous Democrat strategist, and he predicted that Kamala Harris would win the election. However, now he's saying the Trump administration collapsed faster than ever than he thought was possible. But again, this all ties in together because not too long ago, CNN just said during their polling that Donald Trump is more popular than ever. So who are we supposed to believe now?
Or something like that. I think the thing is collapsed. But I'll go to you. Let's take the middle ground here and say it's collapsing, and I'll meet you halfway. But that's about all I can do. So
Harry, and when you wrote in the Times and you spoke of rolling over and playing dead, you said, allow the Republicans to crumble beneath their own weight and make the American people miss us. But if the approval rating of the Democratic Party is at 29%, according to CNN's data, who's missing Democrats right now? They might be upset with Trump, but who's really missing the Democrats?
Again, this is such a perfect moment to tie this all in together because now you have a CNN news anchor saying, hey, according to our own data, Democrats are not popular, but I think you'll find this answer rather interesting.
Well, first of all, this is a glorious opportunity for the Democratic Party to redefine itself, to take this as what it is. And apparently some people in the news media are not. It's the gravest crisis we've had in the United States in the last 80 years. You understand what we're looking at? We're looking at the kind of end of the rule of law. We're looking at nincompoops and blockheads and buffoons running the country. And if Democrats, and again, I had no idea. I thought I'd have to wait longer for the imminent collapse. It happened even faster than I could imagine. So I don't know exactly what we're arguing about. They won't run in a plus 20 district. I don't think they're going to do that well in Wisconsin. Let's see what happens in Florida. But you got people that represent states and congressional districts that have a 15, 20 or more.
Now, what I really like about this clip is that James Carville dismisses the CNN polling and data without doing it directly. In fact, he doesn't even acknowledge the 28%. By the way, I will show you guys the original clip because it's kind of hilarious. We'll get to that in a second. But James Carville, he appeals to other news sources. I don't know if you caught it. He says, well, other news sources and other media, what they're saying is this is an absolute catastrophe. It's the worst thing we've ever seen for conservatives and Donald Trump. Again, not appealing to CNN.
I'm a big fan of the oldies, and when it comes to the feelings that Americans, voters at large, and Democrats have, I can't help but think of Chubby Checker. Why is that? Because the question is, how low can you go? Voters' views of Democrats in Congress, the lowest ever approval ratings on record per Quinnipiac University. Look at this. Approve 21% among all voters. Look at the disapprove level. Holy Toledo, 68% of all voters disapprove of how Democrats are doing in Congress. Now, you might think that is low, and this is the lowest number on your screen here down at 21%. But I want to bring you over here to how Democratic voters feel, because this is truly unbelievable. Amongst their own party, how do Democratic representatives, senators, how are they viewed? Get this, the plurality disapprove at 49%. More Democrats disapprove of the job that their party is doing in Congress than approve. Get this, only 40% approve. These are truly horrific numbers. They're in the trash bin of history. That is how low these approval ratings are. When you can't even get plurality approval among your own party, you know you're doing something wrong.
Now, if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. One thing I do want to point out, and if you follow my channel or you follow CNN Meltdown Moments, one thing you will know is this. CNN news anchors do appeal to CNN sources to disprove other CNN news anchors. I'm going to play this very famous clip to prove my point. Again, Scott Jennings does this nearly every single night, but this is probably the most famous moment and the most funny moment I can think of Scott Jennings using CNN to disprove CNN.
You ask Americans, should we eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? You'll get a lot of response for that. If you start defining waste, fraud, and abuse as things that they value and workers that are essential, they're going to have a much different view. So the initial blush of Musk with his chainsaw may have had some resonance. The fact that he's cutting down stuff indiscriminately, less so.
Well, it's not all indiscriminate. I mean, we don't really need to train mice, do we? I mean,
that's not even real.
It is real. I'm sorry, man. It's real.
It's not. No, listen.
Is it real or not?
Hey, hold on a second.
Did we have to say it was real or not?
No, hold on.
It's real.
I mean, Musk was a shield.
How about the
It's a real thing.
No,
so
look,
my point is,
listen. What they weren't talking about trans.
Don't defend the mice.
No. Listen, you don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about it. But it wasn't transgender. It was a different term that was misinterpreted as transgender. They were actually doing basic medical experiments on mice to figure out.
Don't spoil a good troll.
It's just not true.
Jennings is having a good troll.
Now, there is one more poll out there that I think you guys would find rather interesting that really does show the support for Donald Trump. Again, I will fully admit the polling that we're seeing all came before Signalgate. However, all of these Tesla takedowns, the Teslas being attacked, whether a dealership or whether it's individuals, despite all of this, I want you guys to check this poll out. And regardless, you still have Republican support for Elon Musk. And we know this also means support for Donald Trump as well.
I have rarely ever seen any change of perception as dramatic as this one. I mean, Elon Musk's net favorable rating, it's dropped from plus 24 to minus 19 overall from 2017 to 2025. And look at among Democrats. He used to be beloved by Democrats at plus 35. Look where it is now, minus 91 points on the net favorable rating. That is a movement of over 120 points in the negative direction, falling through the floor. Now, among Republicans, he has gone up from plus 18 to plus 51, but that doesn't at all make up for the gap that the Democrats have completely fallen off the rails for Elon Musk. And among independents, the drop has been from plus 17 to minus 17. Look, Donald Trump isn't the most popular president in the world, but he is far more popular than Elon Musk is. I have rarely...
Again, I do think it's important to point out all of this information came out in March. Now, we are all entitled to our opinions. I'm curious what you guys think about this, but I truly do think the Tesla takedowns and Donald Trump being connected to Elon Musk and the Doge and the firings, I do think this is more scandalous, if we want to use that word, than the Signalgate. And I mean, we know this because the media, my opinion, they talk about this nearly every single day. And we keep hearing it's unpopular, yet the stats show that Republicans, they do support Elon Musk, and Republicans, conservatives, definitely support Donald Trump currently. So again, I'm just making this video to show you guys, you have a bit of conflicting information when you take everything in context. When you have a CNN news anchor saying in a segment, well, you know, she's being a little dismissive of the numbers, but then when you actually look at the original clips, hold on, these numbers are quite powerful. And even the way they're being presented, we're being told this is kind of a big deal. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about all of this. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you guys later, and God bless.